Okay guys, I have a pretty sweet tutorial for you today. This is going to be on the Nike Alpha Elite defensive head. This pocket is going to be fantastic for any LSM or long pole or close defender, or even maybe a demidi if you like to, a bit beefier of a head at least. So really nice to find mid pocket. As you can see, it's actually channeled pretty well for how wide the head is. Now this pocket uses Lacrosse Unlimited Platinum Mesh, although if you use ECD Hero 2.0 or ECD Hero 3.0, those meshes will also work for this pattern as well. So let's go ahead and get into the tutorial. Alright, so before we begin the tutorial, you're going to do a 9 diamond top string. Just like you can see I've done it here, you can do that 9 diamond top string on the first hole of the head. So once again, 9 diamond top string on the first hole of the head. Okay, so for this tutorial, I'm going to be using this neon orange sidewall string so that way you guys can see clearly. Now we're going to start this pattern on the first hole of the head. So we're going to put our string through that first hole alongside the top string, but below that top string. Put your leading in string all the way through. You're going to come up and through that first available mesh loop in the head. You're going to go back and through that same first sidewall hole and up and through that mesh loop again. We're going to pull all your slack out. And you want to make sure that that string isn't twisting up or crossing over on itself in a weird way. And then there we have our standard tie and loop. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and skip the next 2 sidewall holes and do an anchor knot. So we're going to go into the plastic from the outside, making sure to skip 2 sidewall holes. We're going to leave a small loop here. Take your leading in string, go from the front and up of that next available mesh loop. And then we're going to take a leading in string, go from the back and through of that loop that we left over on the outside of the head. And then by doing this, it should create a small pretzel, as you can see. That's how you know that you're doing the knot correctly. Take your leading in string or your string from the inside of the head, you're going to pull the slack through. Take your fingertips, pinch the middle of the mesh to the plastic, making sure the knot rests on the top of the head's bottom rail. And you're going to pull your leading in string straight down, nice and tight. And that's going to be our first anchor knot. Now we're going to skip the next sidewall hole and do another anchor knot. So down to, or from the outside, leaving a small loop, up and through that next available mesh loop. And then taking your string from the inside or from the back side of that loop that we left over on the outside of the head. Once again, we should have that small pretzel. Pull your slack from the inside of the head. Make sure the bottom rail or the knot rests on the bottom rail. Pinch that sidewall string to the plastic and then pull straight down. And I'm actually going to pull down and kind of towards the inside of the head just a little bit, just because this is a bit of a wider head. Now we're going to skip one more sidewall hole and do an anchor knot once again. So into the plastic from the outside, leaving a small loop, and then taking your next available mesh loop and going up and through. And then coming from the back and through that loop on the outside of the plastic. Pull your slack from the inside, making sure to rest that sidewall string knot on the top of the bottom rail. Pinch that sidewall string and then pull straight down with your leading in. These should be really tight because that's how we're going to create the channel. As you can see, this kind of stiff portion on the side, that's going to ensure that the ball comes out consistently as well as accurately. Now we're transitioning from essentially what is the channel portion to more of creating the pocket. We're going to do so by switching over to a 1 SI. So we're going to go up and through the next available mesh loop. And then we're going to go down and through the top of the next following mesh loop. So you can see we're just going under and then over. You're gonna go into the plastic from the outside, making sure to not skip any sidewall holes. You're gonna leave a small loop here. Take your leading edge string, go from the inside and through that loop. As you can see, it's just crossing over. Pull the string, not all the way though. Since we're creating the pocket here, we're gonna pinch the middle of the mesh, pull it up towards the top of the scoop. Take your leading edge string, pull outwards and then up and then down, and then take that leading edge string once again. We're gonna go from the bottom and up of that same or that last mesh loop. And this is creating that SI portion. And then from here, once again, we're pulling the middle of the mesh, pulling up towards the top of the scoop because we're creating the pocket here. Pull your leading edge string outwards and then up and then down. And that's gonna be your one SI to help create the start of the pocket. Now we're going to essentially lock off this portion of the pocket by doing a KSI. So that way we don't have to worry about these knots shifting around. So we're gonna go down through the top of the next sidewall hole. So kind of like an SI, like how we did that last knot, but we're gonna lock it down. So we're mixing that SI with those first couple of anchor knots that we did. So we went down through the top of the next mesh loop. We're gonna go into the plaster on the outside. We're gonna leave a small loop as well when we pull that slack through. So there we go. Take your leading edge string, go from the back and through of that loop, and then pull your slack through. And then before you pull it completely tight, you're going to pinch the little mesh and then pull it towards the top of the scoop. And then with your other hand, you're going to pull the slack from the inside of the head. And then make sure you get all the slack out. Make sure that knot is resting on top of the bottom rail so that way their pocket doesn't shift to the outside of the plastic. Pull that leading edge string straight down so that it's nice and tight. And then take your string, go from the bottom of that same mesh loop. And before you pull this specific string here tightly, pulling the middle of the mesh once again towards the top of the scoop. We're gonna pull this up and then down, outwards, and then once again up and then down. So that's gonna essentially just lock off this pocket creation section here. So that way it's not shifting or anything through play. So now we're going to go ahead and finish out the rest of the pocket. We're gonna do that by doing 3 SIs. So down through the top, the next mesh loop, into the plaster from the outside. We're gonna come through this loop here that we create, as you can see. And then before you pull it tight, pull in the middle of the mesh up once again, and then up and through that same mesh loop. And then you're gonna pull that up and then down. We're gonna do this exact same thing 2 more times. So down through the top, into the plastic, through the loop, up and through that same mesh loop. And then we're gonna do that one last time. And there, that should be nice and tight. We're gonna go ahead and finish out the pocket. We're going to skip one sidewall hole and do an interlock tie off like how we usually do. So into the plastic from the outside. We're gonna leave a small loop here. And then down here you can see we have our next available mesh loop. Take your leading edge string from the inside of the head. You're gonna go up and through that mesh loop. Just like that. Take your leading edge string, you're gonna go through the loop. And then from here, since we're still creating the pocket in a way, we're gonna pull the middle of the mesh up once more. Put your leading edge string outwards, and then up and then down. And to completely finish out, take your leading edge string, go from the back and from the top and down of that same mesh loop that we just came through. So essentially what we're gonna do is cross string back over itself. And then you're gonna finish out by taking your leading edge string and going out and through either that final sidewall hole on the head or back into that same sidewall hole that we went through for this interlock. I'm gonna go back into the sidewall hole that we did the interlock on, and you're just gonna pull that all the way through and tie a knot to the outside. And make sure you get the knot as close to the plastic as you can. And there we go. Okay, if you followed that correctly, you should have a really nice looking mid, very defined mid pocket in the Nike Alpha Elite. Like I said before, it's gonna be fantastic for any LSM, D-pull, or even maybe a D-midi. So once again, it's gonna give you a good balance between hold and whip. It's decently channeled for how wide the head is. So if you guys enjoyed the video or found it helpful, be sure to give it a like, subscribe to the channel for more content, and as always, thank you for watching.